If you're actually so up in arms about pumpkin spice top cinnamon toast crunch running the fucking country right now, how about...
I mean, but
That's what he looks like.
What are you going to have, Nancy Pelosi, the fucking crypt keeper?
Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, recorded live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And that's why I think Sam Rockwell might be my favorite actor of all time.
Ah, really? What's your favorite movie with Sam Rockwell?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe the one I want to talk to you about today, Jojo Rabbit.
You know, before we get into that, I would... Well, anyway, before we get into this...
We should just jump straight into it.
Yeah. Picking up where we left off. Just kidding, we didn't leave off. Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, you guys. I'm your host, Spence.
I'm Casey.
And Hunter?
He must be pooping again.
He might be in the bathroom. Yeah. Maybe Hunter will show up.
Was it rotten insulin?
Rotten insulin. Yeah, we'll see if Hunter. See if we can find Hunter around here somewhere while we're talking.
Yeah.
But before we get into that Jojo Rabbit, I want to say I actually one of my favorite roles of Sam Rockwell, and he's been in everything.
Yeah.
Was actually his role in Charlie's Angels as the villain.
Really?
I thought he was so fucking good in the old Charlie's Angels.
Because I kind of liked him in Three Billboards, where he kind of played a villain as well, but then like kind of redeems himself.
Dude, you know what? I've never seen it.
Dude,
I know.
It's so good.
I know.
And then you have Moon. Moon is another great Sam Rockwell movie.
I haven't seen it. Man, I need to brush up on my Sam Rockwell.
He's such a good actor.
Yeah, he's solid. He's solid as well. Well, so speaking of things that are really amazing, why don't you go ahead and I may or may not be secretly eating over here but why don't you go ahead and talk to us a little bit about your new favorite movie?
It really might be my favorite movie of all time.
Of all time, which that's big.
I think it might actually take the title from The Princess Bride as my favorite movie of all time.
Which is huge.
It's huge.
Huge.
And it could be because it's fresh on my brain, but I went to go see Jojo Rabbit at the Downtown West Theater.
So you actually saw it in the theater?
Yes.
Before it went out? Okay.
I saw it in the theaters before it went out. Hunter's back. But yeah, so I went to the theaters, I saw it, and I was watching it.
Jojo Barnhart.
Lowest common denominator.
The Nancy Pelosi of papers. So anyways, I don't know where that came from. Anyways, for those of you who don't know, Jojo Rabbit's about a boy who is a Nazi. He's a 10-year-old Nazi growing up during World War II. And he has an imaginary
How weird is that
friend.
to just try and explain that?
Oh, it's insane.
Anybody I go, dude, have you been hearing about Jojo Rabbit? And they go, what's that about? And I go, no.
A 10-year-old Nazi whose imaginary friend is Hitler.
This is not going to make a lot of sense. But
then he finds out his mom is hiding a Jewish girl in their like crawl space, and now he's like torn.
Is it Anne Frank?
No, it's
But it is super insensitive while still being really funny.
Yeah.
In like a non-offensive way.
It's a satire. I mean, it's basically, I mean, if you think about Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal, where he talks about eating children, it's a very not cool subject. However, he's so absurd and over the top with it that you have to laugh at it and just kind of look at it and go, oh, it's satire. It's making fun of that thing, but also making fun of people who get a little too over.
Yeah, kind of like Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
Blazing Saddles was one of these where it was making fun of racism by showing a lot of racism.
Yeah.
But it never at any point was actually insensitive to the victims of racism. It just made the people that were racist look really stupid.
Right. And so from the beginning of the movie, which I talked to you about this, Spence. So, Hunter, from the beginning of the movie, one of the first things that Jojo Rabbit talks about, or I guess his name is Jojo Betzler or Joseph Betzler, and they eventually give him the name Jojo
We'll go
Rabbit.
with Rabbit.
Well, his name's Jojo Rabbit because the kids want him to kill a rabbit, and he won't do it. So they start calling him Jojo Rabbit, being like a scaredy cat. But he's looking in the mirror and he even says, like, I'm a 10-year-old Nazi. I'm going to camp and I'm going to be an adult. I might not know how to tie my shoes, but that's okay. And then Hitler shows up as his imaginary friend and he's like, hey, you look snappy. He's like, oh, I feel like I look like an idiot. He's like, what?
And and it's worth mentioning, Hitler is played by Taika Waititi.
And he does a phenomenal job.
Incredible.
And the funny thing is he actually would direct people in that outfit. And he said he felt weird giving people directions and commands on what to do.
Did he not feel weird taking that role from a white man?
Well, I mean, he's also Jewish, so he felt a little strange, but he said that it was the perfect person to do it was a Jewish person to make fun of Hitler.
I'd agree with that. Any of you listening, I'm totally joking.
Well,
about
and I
the
totally
white man
didn't
part.
get to see it in the theater, so I had to like get in on iTunes, and I got some deleted scenes.
Really?
which by now might be on YouTube, but a lot of them are hilarious. And you get to see him just like
being
ad-libbing
absurd.
a lot of those scenes where he was being funny.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So the big thing that stuck with me, and I was talking to Spencer about this, is the shoe tying. The shoe tying in this movie is a very big allegory and symbolism for growing up and being an adult.
Okay.
Because Scarlett Johansson, who plays JoJo's mom, is always having to tie his shoes for him. Mm-hmm. And at one point in the movie, the Gestapo show up to his house to do an investigation, which, by the way, Sam Rockwell showing up in that scene, because he just comes up out of nowhere and he's like, oh, hey, JoJo, I brought you some. I think that he saw what happened and immediately went to go make sure JoJo was okay.
Yeah. I agree.
And I also think he knew about Elsa. I think he was working with Scarlett Johansson, and he was actually not as much of a Nazi as people thought he was. Because throughout the movie, he just gets, like, every time JoJo brings up, he's like, oh, I want to talk to you about the Jewish people. And he goes, oh, God, JoJo, why do you want to talk about Jewish people? And he's like, well, no reason. I just want to do some research. And then
and every time JoJo knows a new thing, like he talks to this girl that's being kept up there in the attic, and they become friends. And like every time he learns, she says so much. The writing in this movie is just brilliant. But he goes, tell me more about Jewish people. And she just says all this outlandish stuff. Like we hang upside down when we sleep. And he writes all this stuff in his book, and he then goes to like Sam Rockwell's character, which is kind of like a boarding school type military school for German boys, nationalist, I guess.
The Hitler Youth.
That's my favorite thing is when they're at the little day camp. Sam Rockwell and Rebel Wilson are like the two head.
Rebel Wilson's in it?
Yes, and no, she's wonderful.
Good? Okay.
Her character's hilarious.
Okay.
She at one point, Sam Rockwell goes, the men are going to learn how to fight and do this and that, and the women are going to learn womanly things like learning how to cook and clean and getting pregnant. And Rebel Wilson goes, it's going to be so much fun, and all the girls go, oh. But so with the shoe tying thing is Scarlett Johansson's always tying his shoes, and at one point, JoJo is following a butterfly. And one of the things you notice is Scarlett Johansson's
This is a big
shoes.
spoiler coming up, by the way. If anybody wants to skip or watch JoJo before this big spoiler.
Thank you for doing that, because I would have just gone into it without, because it's so fascinating to me, because I didn't see this coming at all, and nothing in the trailer or nothing in any part of this movie led it to believe that it was going to have anything sad in it. And man, when he follows that butterfly and stands up and his mother's shoes are hanging next to him because she's been hung, and he turns and he looks up and just breaks down.
Shit.
Yeah, like all the Jewish supporters that they catch, they hang them in the town square. And like they just leave them hanging there as like an example. And so and you're right, it really was an actual shocking scene because there was no warning.
No.
Like his mom just keeps coming home every night, and then he's out just having a normal day and looks, and then she's gone, like.
And the scene that they show that happens, like she's standing there at one point at the beginning of the movie, and he comes walking up, and he goes, oh, gross, and he turns his head, and she grabs his head and makes him look at it. And he was like, what did they do? And she goes, they did their best. That's what they did. And then she kept going on. But she, like, the fact that she made him look, would be like, if you're gonna be supportive of this, you're not gonna look away from what they do. You're not gonna be blind to it. But anyway, so he sees his mom. She's been hung. She's dead. And he goes to try to tie her shoes for her because one of her shoes is untied. And he can't do it because he hasn't really learned how.
Oh, Christ.
And so he like tries to tie it, can't do it, gets frustrated, cries more, and like hugs onto her. And then by the end of the movie, him and Elsa like really form this strong bond, and he like is able to tie her shoe for her. And so it's like this whole thing about, which
I didn't even really pick up on that. I noticed there was they kept going back to this theme of him trying to tie shoes.
Yeah.
But I never even, there was so much other shit going on in this movie. I didn't even notice that till you mentioned it.
Yeah. And it's just one of those smart things where you watch it.
Dope.
Like the first time I watched it, I was like, there's something about the shoe tying, because they always go back to Scarlett Johansson tying his shoes for him. And at one point she even ties him together and he falls over and she makes fun of him. She's like, what's wrong with you? Why are your shoes tied together? And it's like kind of like poking fun at the fact that he's not able to do it himself.
Scarlett Johansson is fucking amazing in this movie.
She's still, every time she's on screen, she's wonderful. Like the scene where she's like being the dad and the mom.
Yeah.
Is wonderful.
It was weird. It made me really uncomfortable.
but it was because she was drunk.
Yeah. But I mean, no, they did a good job. I'm just saying, like, this is and what you have to remember, this movie's still more than anything a comedy.
Yeah.
Even though all these like real tragic things happen and it's real tragic subject matter, it's still fun. The writing in this movie is so good. That's the thing. Like to me, the number one character in the movie is the writing.
Yeah.
The dialogue. And it just blew me away. Like, I don't know, man. Like you saw the movie and I wanted to see it real bad. You saw it, you were blown away by it. And I went and got it and I watched it. Like I told you, spoiler, like when I tried to watch it, I was way too tired. I should have waited till the next day.
When you texted me and you said I kept falling asleep, I was like, oh, God, he's going to not like it.
No, I loved it, but I fell asleep a lot. And it's so, I don't want to say disjointed, but it's so dramatic that if you fall asleep and wake up, something else is happening. You go, wait a minute, what did I miss?
It's a very quick movie, too. It just, like, things, like, they don't drag out scenes very long.
It's just brilliantly shot. And I wish I could explain how magical this movie is.
His friend Yogi.
Dude.
Every time that kid showed up.
In the blooper reel, that kid's hilarious. So is Scarlett Johansson, too. Like, there's one scene where she's sitting at the table trying to ad-lib, and it's a scene where I think somebody's supposed to go, why don't you love Germany anymore? Because she wants the war to end.
Yeah.
She doesn't want the Jewish persecution, you know? She's a sympathist. And he's like, he wants to be a Nazi, the little kid does. And he's like, why don't you love Germany? And she just keeps ad-libbing all these. She goes, what are you talking about? I love Germany. I'm a Germaniac. And it just keeps doing different things like that.
See, I wish Google Play had the deleted scenes. I don't think that I could find them on there.
It's pretty good, but like, it really is a magical movie. I mean, go talk a little more about it. Like,
yeah, Yogi, like, is 11-year-old boy, and anytime he shows up, like, he's just progressed more and more into the war. It's like, you know, at one point he shows up, and he's like, has this uniform on. And they're like, he's like, oh, Jojo goes, oh, is that paper? And he goes, no, it's paper-like, but it's my new outfit. And then like he turns around to run away, and he's covered in sweat. He's like, God, this thing's so hard to run in. But near the end, like Yogi survives, you know, some battle, and Jojo's like, oh yeah, you know, how's it going? And he's like, oh, it's not a good time to be a Nazi. I can tell you that, Jojo.
Yeah, I mean, and so it's super adult humor, super like super good, really smart humor.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. This movie it fired on all cylinders. I would say don't watch it if you're tired, you know, because like it's not all. It doesn't get in a hurry, and it's not slapstick.
No,
it's very very smart, and sometimes it's got a lot of dynamics. It goes from being like real serious to being real funny, and it some of the most like I don't know, the monstrous like subject matter, like teaching kids to be Nazis and stuff, like is some of the most. That's when they dial the humor up the most, which is weird. For that to be the funniest parts of the movie, you know.
Yeah.
But it's a really unexpected surprise and a fantastic fucking movie.
The end with Sam Rockwell. Here, another spoiler is America comes in and invades the town and wins the battle. The Americans and Russians, and basically Yogi at one point looks at Jojo and he was like, the Americans are coming, the Russians are coming, the Chinese, the Africans. He's like the whole world's coming after us, Jojo. Yeah.
He's like, we're not worried about the Jews anymore. Like,
we're worried about the
Russians are here.
The Russians apparently they'll eat us and sleep with our dogs, and we have to stop them before they sleep with our dogs.
Yeah, and through the whole thing, you've got Jojo's imaginary friend Hitler. Played by Taika Waititi, who's comic relief, but also kind of a monster sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he goes in those speeches and starts like throwing his hand up and like getting super into it. And you're like, oh God,
yeah, and like, but then also he's just hilarious. So funny, and like it's weird. Like he'll be in the bed, he'll be in like the kid's bed. Like the kid will come in his bedroom, and he's laying in the bed. He's like, "What have you been doing today?" You know, and like he's just it's hard, man. I feel like an idiot trying to describe it. This movie is not really describable. Well, you kind of just have to watch it, sit it, and feel it.
One scene where Scarlett Johansson comes in and she's like burning a note because she's a sympathizer, and so she's like working against the Nazis, and she's like burning a note in the fireplace, and it's Jojo and Hitler sitting at a table, and he has like an Indian headpiece on for some reason.
Yeah,
and I don't even.
Just like
I've yet
kid's
to
imaginary friend.
Yeah, I've yet to figure it out. Like if there's any symbolism to that. But he's like, "What are you burning?" And she's like, "He goes, you're my imaginary friend." She can't hear, and he's like, "What are you burning?" And like screams at her, and he always offers him cigarettes. And he's like, "I'm 10. Quit offering me cigarettes." He's like, "All right, sorry, I'm just nervous,
dude." So it's that. But then there's like death, and like it's the end of the and even after like the real Hitler, who the kid never actually meets.
Yeah,
they go, they go, it's over. He shot himself. He gave up. And then he kind of has this falling out with his imaginary friend Hitler.
And he comes in and has a bullet hole in his head. He's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he's like screaming at him, but he has like a bullet hole where he's shot himself.
Yeah. So, man, like, just, again, I feel like we're going to go back and listen to this and go, we didn't even scratch the surface of this.
No.
This movie is so big and so, like...
And Sam Rockwell...
And the girl that was that played the Jewish girl up in the attic, phenomenal breakout performance. I know she's probably been in other things, but whoa.
I think her name's like Thomasin McKenzie.
Was blown away at how good she was. How good she was. The kid, too. And I will say this. I told Casey, my favorite scene in the whole movie, when it's all over, Germany falls, American comes in, and all this, and then all of a sudden they're free. Sam Rockwell makes this massive sacrifice to save the kid. Like he strips his jacket off of him and pushes him and starts calling him a Jew so that they'll take the kid to safety. And then as soon as he gets around the corner, like you hear all of them getting killed, so it's like this big thing. But then at the very end, like there's this scene where they're finally free and he takes her down and like, they go outside and they like start dancing. And there's a reason for that. And you'll listen why they have this little dance thing. But it's one of the most magical scenes. It's my favorite scene in the whole movie. And it could have been, I told Casey, it could have been awkward. It could have been really bad. Like this kid and this slightly older, like 17-year-old girl that's been living in an attic that all of a sudden have this dance scene at the end of this movie. But it's absolutely magical. I recommend Jojo Rabbit very highly to anybody.
I now understand why you like The Dirt so much. I finally get it. Because I found a movie that I like just as much as you like The Dirt.
Don't like it as much as The Dirt, but I went back and watched The Dirt about a week ago, and I was like, "This is the greatest thing that's ever happened to Netflix, ever."
No, I watched JoJo.
I think I like The Dirt as probably. I think it's probably my favorite movie since Tombstone.
Yeah,
frankly.
Well, Jojo Rabbit takes #1 spot for me from The Princess Bride, hands down.
That's good. That's good.
I love it. I loved it. I understand that a lot of people were mixed reviews on it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was tastefully done, well written, well shot.
Yeah. It's definitely a movie for people who love movies.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I don't know. I don't think it would even be in my top 10 just because the movies that make up my top 10 are movies where like the story matters the most. Like you get to learn a story. Like I said, Tombstone, Princess Bride, none of those are historical events, which is fine, but everybody kind of knows historical. So there's not really any surprises in Jojo Rabbit except the deaths of certain people. It's just phenomenal for I can see you as kind of like a budding filmmaker, why this would be your juice.
Yeah.
Because every fucking scene is so smart, so well directed, so well written, so well lit, so well costumed. So it's just an artistic masterpiece.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm not always looking, like again, The Dirt. It's not an artistic masterpiece, but they captured something to me that's nearly impossible to capture, which was the ferocity of bands in that era, before internet, before the woke culture, before all that, like how, I mean, it was the Wild West of like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And it's really hard to encapsulate that in a movie without it kind of being, I don't know. They captured something in The Dirt that's, to me, one of the most exciting things ever. But again, it's to each his own, but I can see why somebody that's a film enthusiast, Jojo Rabbit would be their favorite movie.
And for me, it's also the message because it is a satire on hate. And so this movie is very much, even though it's about a boy who's a Nazi hating a girl in his attic or in his crawl space because she's of who she is and something that she can help. And one of my favorite things is that he's talking about being a Nazi and he's like bragging about how awesome being a Nazi is. And she actually, she's sitting there and she says, "You're not a Nazi.
You're not a Nazi. You're a 10-year-old boy,
wearing a funny uniform and you just want to be part of a club." And it's so powerful because that's so accurate to today's society of people just wanting to feel inclusive, whether it's hating on something or loving it. And it's either side, left and right. Both of them hate something.
Yeah.
And they just more people join each side because they just want to be included in the conversation of what these people hate.
That's true. That's true. The movie's really smart on a lot of levels. There are a lot of lessons that come just flying by. If you kind of have to, I think you paid attention to it better than I did, but there are a lot of things like that. But I will say this, that is a great segue into some other things that have been going on around that we could get into. I know I wanted to definitely talk about that mess that happened in Iowa and whatnot. Hunter, what have you got?
You mean the corrupt election in Iowa?
I think it happened on purpose.
Dude.
It 110% happened
because they didn't want to see how popular Bernie Sanders is.
Dude, Easily. But talking about hate and people on both sides hating things and why people hate things. And
but to be fair, like the Iowa thing was an accident. Like that was just a technological problem and there was no corruption and they had to investigate it and figure it out. They learned their lesson from being found out about fucking Bernie sideways in 2016. They wouldn't do that again.
Yeah.
You fucking sizzle dick assholes.
Jesus. Now, here's another thing I want to talk about.
Well, part of the problem was that app. They developed an app to help people vote.
Oh, a bunch of old people developed an app? Cool.
Yeah, and they wanted them to vote with this app. The app was...
How did it work?
Well, here's how it worked. The company that developed the app was called Shadow. That's true. That's actually true. Like
Shadow company?
We're living in a dystopian nightmare. The actual company is called Shadow. And guess who one of their main sponsors was? Pete Buttigieg. When the results came in at Iowa and Bernie was way ahead of everybody else, they put a stall on it. The app crashed or something, and they blamed it all on that. Well, guess who the main sponsor was? And then when first time they released the results, they were like, Pete's at number one, which he never was. So, I mean, how absolutely deluded do you have to be to not see the fucking... Nobody said a word about Tulsi Gabbard, for the record. She was interviewed this week by Ron Paul, who said, literally, you are the only threat to Donald Trump on the debate stage.
And that's why she's not winning.
That's why they're going to try to marginalize her. They CNN didn't even invite her to the debate.
I'm not voting independent 2020, by the way. I'm doing a write-in. I never thought in my life that would happen, but I'm writing in Tulsi. Fuck all of you guys.
Well, fucking... So the DNC just absolutely melted down in Iowa. It was sad. And I even saw the press secretary for the White House. She was on a Fox News show, or I saw a clip on YouTube, and she was just grinning
thanks for all the extra support now.
They go, what do you think about this thing in Iowa? And she goes, you know what? Not many Democrats like me for obvious reasons, but I really got to tell them, you guys deserve better. You deserve better. And they go, do you feel like this gives the Republican Party a lot more steam going into the election? She goes, yeah, we're not too worried. And then everybody laughed. They're just like, it's such a joke. They're just like, I mean, you might as well not even have an election. She's like, we'll see you in 5 years,
Here's the thing.
Fucking
everybody with Nancy Pelosi ripping up that paper, as somebody who tries to stay in the middle as much as possible, people cheering her on for ripping that paper, you're just as bad as Trump supporters.
See, I didn't actually see the clip, but because
all she's doing is she's now lowering herself to his level and being petty with petty shit.
Thank you.
And so, as someone that's not even really big to politics, I can see that clear as day. She's just being super petty, and people who cheer her on are being just as bad as the Trump supporters who cheer him on for being petty with his fucking tweets.
And that's exactly the problem.
Both sides are fucking idiots. And I can't stand them anymore.
Yeah,
I can't stand this shit anymore. I can't stand politic talk anymore. I don't mind it here. You guys are great.
Yeah,
you guys, because you guys don't seem to lean one way or the other.
Well, we tend to talk about the absurdity of the whole thing.
Yeah,
I just if you're actually so up in arms about pumpkin spice top cinnamon toast crunch running the fucking country right now, how about?
I mean, but
that's what he looks like.
What are you going to have? Nancy Pelosi, the fucking crypt keeper?
That's what I'm saying. Shit.
She read that paper. I was like,
Crypt Keeper would be a better fucking leader.
Like fucking bat flies out of her dress.
Hand taken out of his ass. Here's the thing. Spencer's killing me over here.
You're killing me.
If you hate Trump so much, now is your chance. Even if you're going to vote for whatever corrupt fucking official the DNC puts out there, because whoever they put out there is not who you guys actually voted for. But do not, as Casey just said, fucking champion this stone cold, miserable, crotchety, old cobweb fucking bitch because she got upset that she got her shit kicked in for 4 years in a row, and her answer to it was to tear up documents behind the president. That is petty as fuck, and he's petty as fuck, and now you have both sides literally doing a circle jerk, calling each other assholes.
Hold on. Got it.
Dude.
My Jesus Christ.
I mean,
she sure showed him.
I will say this:
she didn't give Trump supporters another reason to just vote for him. All fucking flat out.
I mean, that nobody gets it. This is one of those where both sides, and if you're listening, just maybe take this into account, or maybe just consider this.
If you're listening and you support either side, fine, but just please have the wherewithal to take your head out of your ass and realize that both sides are fucking jackwagon clowns right now.
Jackwagon clowns. Dude, I used to play bass for jackwagon clowns.
Could have been somebody.
Could have been somebody.
Could have been somebody.
Oh, we don't support anyone in the delicatessen
Louis.
except salami. Listen, both sides. You're not going to win this by fighting fire with fire. Like it's if you think Trump needs to be voted out of office, which I would agree with you. You know, I'm not.
Find someone with fucking class.
Well, you need to do it at the voting booth, and you also need to find a reason to give some of his followers a reason to vote for your candidate. Like you're not just going to beat them, and the same goes for the other side too. Like if you think Nancy Pelosi is the crypt keeper, which I do, you know, I think they both suck.
Hello, boys and ghouls.
Yeah, and if you think that Mayor Pete Buttigieg, by the way, they're calling him now Mayor Cheat because of that Iowa thing. But anyway, if you think he needs to be the next president, great. But you're going to have to find a way, you know, to get some of the Trump supporters to vote for him, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. Like you know, if Trump wants to win this, he's going to have to get some of those people in the middle to like vote for him, and he's not going to do it by being this loud, blithering idiot. You know,
I'm calling it now. When the DNC comes for super like delegates or whatever to vote who's going to run for president this year, I guarantee you,
this is
at like an 80% chance.
You're making a prediction.
Yeah, I'm making a prediction.
Okay.
They're going to get some unknown person that we've never heard of, just like Barack Obama, and they're going to come out and be like, this is the person running for our president. And all of a sudden, this person's going to be the fucking champion of life and be like making all the right decisions and making all the cool calls. And then all of a sudden, it's just going to be like, there we go. Got him.
Man, I feel like again, I wish it was Tulsi. I wish they would, but obviously they're scared.
I think
Or
this person,
Andrew.
like, they're going to be like, who's this who's this strange person? This strange person is just like, hey, you know what? I want this person, either Tulsi Gabbard or Andrew Yang. These two people have like a lot of supporter, like these like kind of independent supporters. I'm going to bring them in as like my vice president or my like, you know, secretary.
When it comes time, I'm definitely going to vote for Tulsi when it comes time to vote. If she's still on the ballot, if not, I'll probably vote for Yang. But it seems like the obvious person on the left is Bernie, and I'm just waiting to see if they're actually going to like shovel him under the. They're going to find a way.
They're trying to already. Obviously.
They have been from the beginning, and that tells you something.
They did it with old Barron Hillary Clinton.
Dude, listen, I don't agree with a lot of Bernie Sanders' monetary policies and stuff. In fact, I made a famous meme about giving money away to people that
He'll never get away with it. He'll never do it.
But like, but the fact that they're so scared of him tells me that there's something about him we can trust, maybe.
Yeah.
So anyway.
That's fair. Well, he is. Yeah.
Not everything's something. Something about him at some point. He's maybe not a crook. You know.
I just to put a final like my stance since I came out the gate so hot 5 minutes ago.
I fucking love it, man.
I'm not going to backpedal on what I said, but I know people that support both sides of this, and I understand why you guys do. The thing that I'm saying is, at the end of the day, if both sides are watching two toddlers slap fight each other, regardless of which one started it and which one was defending themselves, at the end of the day, they're going to go home and shit themselves because they're toddlers. So why don't you pick a fucking adult to run stuff?
True, and beyond that, this would be a better time than ever to really push for a third party. Why do we have to? If the right and the left are so fucking ridiculous right now, and they are, why don't we come up with a third option?
There isn't a third option. It's only them, Spencer. Don't you know that?
This would be a great time to explore the Libertarian Party, folks. They want you to keep all your money and make all your own decisions and do what the hell ever you want to do. Gay marriage? Great. Legalize weed? Great. Everything? Great. Do your own thing.
Hurt somebody else? No. But anything else? Sure.
Government steps in to take care of you, only to protect you, and they still have socialized programs, but it's not socialist, you know? And it hey, let's look into that. I wish Tulsi would run as a libertarian. She says she won't do it, but she's the most libertarian out of all the candidates that I've seen. You know,
I would really like to get Glenn on here so we could find out why he ran Republican instead of Libertarian.
Well, most libertarians, if they have a shot at office, do run Republican because
they're conservative mostly.
They're conservative.
I understand that
monetarily, they're conservative.
But his name recognition, he could have maybe landed.
You guys want Glenn Jacobs? I want Kane to come on and talk to us.
That's a good point. He'd probably be more fun.
Yeah.
Dude, it'd be fun if we could get him on here and then right in the middle of the episode, he transforms into Kane. When that music plays, it would be rad.
I'd shit myself, just like the two toddlers running the country right now.
Well, I will say this. I did learn something this week, and I got to look the guy up. I forget who it is. There was a guy on Rogan. Did one of you guys see this? He was a guy that had a fake Twitter account about woke culture. So the guy's name is Andrew Doyle, and he had a fake Twitter account as this like super social justice warrior female, you know, and he was just trolling people. and people took it legitimately. And he's got a book out now, whatever. But he was on Rogan talking about he's British, and he was talking about some of their culture over there, like cancel culture and this kind of thing. And man, even as weird as it is to be in America right now, he said over there people are applying for jobs, and part of their background check, they go through and look at tweets you've liked, or videos you've liked, or statuses you've thumbs up.
People do that here in the U.S. now.
And if you have they make a case, like for instance, one guy got denied a job in his field because they presented a huge case where he had liked tweets that had the word "fuck" in them, and they had a big list of well, you've liked profane tweets 442 times, and they were just funny tweets, and it cost him a job.
Yeah.
Also, in Britain right now, apparently, if you say something to somebody, hey, fuck you, get out of my face or whatever, they can call the police on you for insensitivity, and then the police will start to investigate. This is true. Again, go watch the Rogan podcast with Mr. Doyle, but they will investigate your thinking. I know I joked about this earlier, but what a fucking dystopian nightmare is that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's no joke. I've been saying it since the podcast started, but as time goes on, it's proven more true. We are inside 1984 right now. We're the prologue of it, that book.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it is. Go fucking pick up that book, and if you don't, it's dry, so if you don't want to read it, don't read it. But read the first chapter and then tell me I'm wrong. All of you listening to the podcast, go refresh yourself. Read the first chapter and come back to us, leave a comment and say, no, you're totally wrong. That's not at all. It's exactly what's going on everywhere.
And some people say Brave New World, too, by Huxley.
Sure, a lot of that stuff.
Which I've never read that cover to cover, but I did read 1984, and I agree.
Thought Police and all that. I'm just dropping 84 because it's the one that sticks scary, out the most in my head.
It's one thing for your behavior to be under this much scrutiny. You can't even be funny. You can't lightheartedly joke about it. Again, the movie we started talking about, Jojo Rabbit. Mm-hmm. Such a good movie because it gets uncomfortable things right up to the top and handles them in a very intelligent, comfortable, humorous way. It was such a smart movie by not being scared to talk about things. So in this country right now, our behavior is under so much incredible scrutiny, but good Lord, imagine living over there and your intellectual property is under scrutiny. If you like a tweet that's funny, it could cost you a job or something, or you could be put on a list or what the fuck? Somebody could get in trouble for liking Beacon House because we said, fuck.
Yeah, well, fuck them.
We hope that we don't cost anyone a job by being profane and you liking us. Hopefully we can all ride off into the sunset together. Dear Beacon House listeners.
Ooh, I like that. I like riding off into the sunset together.
I don't know.
Right past your mom's shoes.
What?
Jojo Rabbit reference.
Chase that butterfly.
What else, guys? What else?
Oof. 1917. Go see that too.
Oh yeah!
Holy shit, that's a good movie.
Rank it with your favorite war movies.
Better than Dunkirk.
Fuck, really? Really?
I know.
For you, I would have imagined that.
Yep.
But have you seen Fury yet?
I've not.
Dying for you.
No. So here's the thing.
See Fury.
You guys keep telling me to watch Fury. I looked up.
Monday
no
Night
one
Movie
liked it.
I know. Do you remember that?
It's
do you
been
remember that,
reviewed
Spencer?
very badly.
Dude, just watch it. I like it better than any of the ones we've talked about.
That's a good question,
Okay.
though. Do you remember that? Because I know the people you talked to told you to go see it, that you'd love it. And we both obviously love Fury. But when it came out, do you remember it?
I saw it in
No
theaters.
pun intended, but it tanked hard.
Did it?
And it got shit on.
I saw it in theaters.
Tank.
It
It
did.
bombed.
I saw it in theaters and I was blown away. I went back and saw it again. I saw it twice in theaters.
It's one of my favorite war movies
Me
of all
too.
time.
Me too.
Of all time.
So, real quick, Oscars come on tonight.
Do they really?
Yes.
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
And I do, because I want Jojo Rabbit. Listen,
Parasite. I want Parasite to win everything.
I love Parasite, but I really want Jojo Rabbit to at least win
Something.
Best Supporting Actress with Scarlett Johansson, or best screenplay, best writing.
Right.
I don't know if they will, though. That's a dangerous movie.
1917 definitely needs to win best cinematography. Holy shit.
It's Wally Pfister, or Feister, or whatever.
They make that movie look like long, continuous shots, but you can tell, if you're watching.
Oh yeah, it has cuts.
They get super close in on dirt, and then come up and show them walking again, and you can tell that there's a cut there. But
right,
yeah, it was beautiful. So well done.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you can only tell if you know how video editing works.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are more familiar with it now, but to the point, like the three of us in here do a lot of editing. And you get,
again, the suspension of disbelief. Like, even if you see the cut, you go, okay, we're supposed to be looking at another thing now, and it's supposed to be continuous, and we get it. Everybody raved about it, so I'm dying to see it. I'll make you a deal. Good. I will go see 1917 if you will watch Fury.
Okay.
A lot of the movies we talked about today have like a cinematic achievement, like just the way they were shot, the way they were written.
Parasite, man. God, that movie.
I will say this about Fury. The individual performances are fucking... They're going to smoke every one of these movies you've talked about.
Yeah, Fury is an acting powerhouse. It's not a visual masterpiece by any stretch.
Dude, Shia LaBeouf, Brad Pitt... You're just going to see guys just... I mean, and then that's not even touched. There's so many... It's a powerhouse cast.
Shia LaBeouf's Isaiah moment right before the final scene in the film is the thing that pushed it over for me.
Yeah.
And I love the movie anyways, but that
I really heard Shia LaBeouf didn't bathe the entire time. It's like be like a method actor.
It's fucking gritty. And you see, I'm Brad Pitt's character just fucking... I'll tell you what, we won't get into it. You guys watch it, and then we'll talk about it. Okay. I'd love to hear you talk about what you think. I was... The range of Brad Pitt's character, like, not necessarily doing good things, but just doing what he thinks is best, trying to keep these guys alive.
Yeah.
And kind of being kind of a bonehead, but not... It's just...
He really seemed like he was a good guy in a shit situation with no good options.
Yeah, and just had to tell people...
How he played it.
Yeah, he had to be tough with them. Like, I can relate to that, being a boss of
the dinner
people.
Scene?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, with the egg?
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta...
Yeah.
I'm dying to rewatch it.
I got fucking chills from talking about it.
So,
oh, man.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Oscars tonight. I'm excited to see Fury, and I'm excited to see Jojo Rabbit Parasite 1917 win everything.
I haven't seen 1970, but I hope Parasite and Jojo Rabbit really take it home. I really do, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys.
We done?
I think that's the end of our. I think that's the end of our. That's the state of the union for Beacon House this week. That's what happened in America. Oh, also Knoxville got covered by water.
There you go.
We had a little bit of snow, so there was an earthquake recently. It really feels like the end times.
There's an earthquake?
Yeah, do you know? It was
like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was like an earthquake on a Monday.
No, I didn't know that.
I never felt it either, but some people were like,
"Oh, you guys didn't feel it?
Didn't feel it at all." I was awake.
I was at Golden Roast. The owner of Golden Roast was down there with me, and there was just this rumble, and we thought like there was a car crash or something because it was loud. We were like, okay, whatever. And then the bait case started rattling, and it didn't stop for like 15 seconds. Just
I was like,
what the fuck?
I was like a quarter mile from you, and I felt nothing.
That's crazy.
Fault lines.
Yeah, they lie exactly with both sides.
You know what? We don't know how to wrap this one up. There's been a lot of shitty things happening in Congress.
But a lot of great movies.
A lot of great movies and a lot of crap in politics. Movies better than politics. And I think a good way to wrap it up would be with a little song.
Nancy Pelosi, you gonna show carry top. You ain't gonna never stop. Why don't you get those documents and tear them up like your ass?
Oh, look at that. Jojo Rabbit won an Oscar.